Hello, Irene.
Hi Raj, can you see me?
I can. How are you? You're looking well.
I am good, I'm good.
Fantastic.
Lockdown, but good.
Excellent. So you're in Kuala Lumpur today, yes?
I am in Kuala Lumpur. I'm at home actually.
Yeah. Hey, we're all in the same boat, I think.
Where are you now?
In Thunder Bay in Canada. So back in my home. I was traveling at the time when all of the shutdowns were about to happen. So I had to kind of make my way back and cancel all my plans for a while. But things are good. We're all well and safe. So, how are things with you guys in Malaysia?
Well, we are under lockdown since the 18th of March.
Okay,
So just hanging in there. It's a new way of living, I guess.
it is.
Lockdown.
It is. It is. So, wait. So, how bad is it in Malaysia at the moment? Because I didn't realize that you guys were in a lockdown as well. But how bad is it?
Well, it's I think relatively compared to the States or whatever, we are quite under control. However, because they have identified clusters that are considered red zone, and it's really mainly in the KL area.
Mm.
So whole of KL is on a lockdown. Um, we have less than, I think at this moment, about less than 4,000 positive. Uh, so it's not as bad as Spain or Italy.
Right. Right. What about further? Further out of the big cities in some of the smaller villages and that. Is it? Are they all in lockdown? Is it pretty much nationwide?
Yes, yes, the whole Malaysia, including we have East Coast Sabah Sarawak, are also on lockdown. Um, and that was because of a cluster that, they had this Muslim gathering, and then that cluster it just spread all over Malaysia quite quickly in less than a week. So the whole of Malaysia, all the states are under lockdown, and only the essential services are allowed to go out to work.
Right. Right. Talking about essential services and that as well, Irene, tell us a little bit about the company that you work for, how many agents you have, and centres. Just to give us a bit of background, please.
Well, I work with AIA. I am actually consulting with AIA right now. I think you know that company quite well. Cheryl was from this company as well previously. You know
Yep.
Cheryl?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So AIA is actually an insurance company, one of the big ones in Malaysia, and we come under the financial essential services. AIA operates. We have about almost 2,700 staff force, out of which for the contact center, correspondence and all that, that's about 300 over people in that team that I manage.
Okay. All right.
Uh, so with the lockdown, what happened was we had to lock down our AIA centers, walk-in centers. We have about 36 centers across the region, and we had to lock down those centers. And for our AIA insurance agents who normally walk into the center to submit documents, now had to do it online. So we had a different way of working immediately, where we had to get agents, instead of going face-to-face meeting with the clients, now submitting the documents online, getting signatures online, getting confidential information online, and then that meant the contact center and the back-end team that works under my department now had to open another function where they sort of started processing all this application that came through.
Right.
Otherwise would have gone to the branches.
Wow. So it's quite a big change for you guys in terms of
Uh, um,
processes as well.
yeah, it was such a big change. As soon as the lockdown happened, and we went with that, it took us about 2 weeks to get all our processes and communications out to the relevant teams and whatnot. to get that process up and running. But we very quickly got that done because we were already in the pre-COVID. We were already in the phase where we were exploring that option. Instead of getting our workforce of agency around 5,000 agents across Malaysia, we were trying to get them to work more efficient, where they can meet more customers. So we are already on that path of exploring the online option. However, the only setback we had that time was because of some legal requirements and being in the financial industry. We are governed very closely by the local banks, especially the government banks, that dictates no documents should be submitted online, no confidential documents like private financial information of clients. So with this lockdown, then came a little bit of relaxation on those kind of rules, and we got approval to do that on immediately.
Wow. And what about, so you're an essential service, so you still have people coming into the contact centre as well as having staff working from home now, I guess, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
So what happened was immediately after the lockdown, we had 2 locations where we had to separate people, because we also one of the things that came down hard on us was the social distancing, and that was why we closed the centres, because our centres normally had big crowds of people coming in just to submit documents, just to make premium payments and whatnot. So we did that the first round, and then for the contact centre, we got them into 2 different locations, location A and location B. So we split the staff 50-50. The second thing we did was right after that was we deployed people to work from home. So team A had 30% of them working from home, and team B had 30% of them working from home. So we just segregated such so that business runs still, but from different location, while ensuring we have our social distancing.
Okay, so within the centre as well, do you have any different policies as well, apart from spacing people out? Do you do anything different?
One of the things we did differently was we spaced people out, and we are talking about the centres in the contact centre, right?
Correct, yes, yeah.
Well, we spaced people out, we moved furniture around, physically moved furniture around.
Right.
We actually, to take a different approach, AIA also put up, we put up this temporary walls, so to speak, so that, the interaction of the staff, although they're sitting far away, is also protected. So all that was done, gradually, but eventually we had this little, I would say little walls around each one. So it's kind of lonely when you walk into the contact center now. People are sitting far away, but that's how it is.
Oh, and what about those staff who are now working from home? Are they're taking calls and dealing with inquiries and emails and stuff like that, are they?
Yes. So business as usual, they're taking calls. We did initially face a lot of connectivity problems, but then all that was sorted out in the following weeks when since we first started. Some of them had lesser bandwidth of connectivity from home and things like that. So we actually got in touch with the provider and bought all these dongles for the team and deployed those dongles for extra capacity. So those were, managed. For those who really have kind of very bad internet coverage, we have this option where we connect back to their PCs at work. So they have a laptop, they also have a workstation at work. We on the workstation, we do a VNC, virtual connection into their workstation. Okay. To access to the systems, so that the processing or the internet speed is there, while they only connect using their local LAN internet. So we have, what I would say is we have a mixture of way of working, whatever works best. Some is on a LAN connection, some on a virtual connection, some have got very good internet connection, they use a dongle and they work from home. So it's a mixture of 4 or 5 different methods just to get things done.
Okay, excellent. And the staff who work from home, do they rotate in at any time and come into the centre and the people from the centre go and work from home, or is it set up so you stay where you are now until this is all over?
All right, depends on location. If they are from a red zone, if you're working from home in red zone means, I think the way they defined here in Malaysia was, if it's a red zone, you have too many people with COVID at that area, they don't allow you to come out.
Okay.
So they work from home, they don't rotate. But those non-red zone areas, they rotate with their respective teams. So team A, from location A, has a bunch of people that will rotate, take turns to work from home, and so with team B.
Oh, okay. So you have a red zone, and do you have any other coloured zones, or is it just literally red or all okay?
I think for the moment they only call it red zone if they have high number of COVID tested positive in one area, so they call it red zone. In fact, last night they declared where my team is working from, location A, right in the snack of KL City Centre, they declared that zone as red zone last night. And so we're trying to figure out how we're going to get more people from location A to work from home because of that discovery yesterday.
Wow, it's a constant challenge, isn't it? It's evolving literally minute by minute. And
right.
And what about the staff who are working from home? Have they adapted in general? Have they adapted well to the changing environment, or have you found some it just didn't work out for them?
That's a very interesting question, because prior to COVID, I never imagined the contact center working from home yet. I mean, it was in the pipeline, probably a push 2 years plan, but not so soon. So it was a struggle the first 3 weeks to adapt to that kind of lifestyle, to work from home, and then with all the connectivity problems. So we saw a reduction in productivity. Capacity went down to about 60% or less. But however, after 3 weeks, we realized that one thing that needed to be done was a lot of motivation to keep things going. So we have these daily huddles at different points of the day. We get people to come in to meet their supervisor online, talk about things, talk about challenges, some pep talks and whatnot. So once we started doing that, and there's a regular huddle at every touch point with different people, we realized that I guess the engagement started growing, and all the noises started lessening. And then now, I would say the capacity is at about 90%, which is actually quite good.
Okay, that's really good. And what about when you're working in the contact center, you probably have a ratio of like team leaders or supervisors to agents, and that typically varies from depending on the type of business that you do. But did you keep the same ratio when you moved to the home working model, or did you actually find you could actually have one team leader looking after more people because they're not constantly over everyone's shoulder or walking around? And I'm kind of curious how that worked.
Well, that's very interesting, right? Because now there's no boundaries, there's no teams. You have a team, but the team is scattered in 3 different locations, working from home, working from location A, location B. So what we've done with the team leaders was they too work from home. And so if you're working from home, then you take care of these 3 zones or clusters that are now probably not from your original team. So we find that team leaders have crossed boundaries, starting to look into different teams, different processes, and we found it very interesting, because now team leaders have no so-called team by themselves. They seem to have they've opened up that one team to 10 team members option, and now it's one team leader to, if I'm on duty, I take care of the whole team. So
Right.
if it's 30 people in that team for the day, I take care of everyone. And it seemed to be working quite fine because they don't walk around anymore, right?
Yeah.
But they touch, so they just touch base with you. One thing that came out positively from this is the engagement between the team leaders and these other team members has gone stronger. And it looks like team leaders, of course, I'm sure in the beginning they had some challenges, but now I think 5 weeks into it, and then another 3 more weeks to go in this lockdown, we find that team leaders have come to terms with it and are engaging quite well to having to take care of the whole floor, so to speak, now, as opposed to their own teams.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So you mentioned you're in lockdown for a few more weeks. Do you think if the lockdown is, when it's over, do you think you'll still stick with a work from home model kind of like you've got, or do you think you might just try and bring as many people back into the centre? Have you got any plans, or is it still early days for you?
Not really. In fact, we have started talking about this as soon as the lockdown. In AIA itself, we have a steering committee that's just looking into all this, and we have had decisions made that post-COVID MCO lifted, we will still continue this new way of working. We will still maintain the 3 different locations of working, including working from home, for probably another 6 months or so.
Okay.
So we're not taking any risk here. We're not trying to bring back people, in a bulk in the same place. So what's been happening is, if this is going to be, if the need be to come back to work, then after the 6 months, the plan is we will still have a whole bunch of people working from home, and that's probably going to be the new way of working for AIA.
Interesting. So it's just so interesting how a lot of companies have been looking and considering work from home for a long time, but being put off about the potential challenges, and now we're forced into it.
Yeah.
And there's some interesting good things coming out of it.
Yes, agreed. I think it's for the company and for because our business model for AIA is we get all our so-called new policies activated by the agency force, right? So the agents are on the floor, they're meeting their clients, they're going to the client's home, workplace. So we realize that that's going to be a new way change now, that agents can probably do more sales online and meeting their clients online and bringing in more sales. So that then calls for a new way of working from the back end, where we have to process all these documents, right? So I can be sitting at home and helping you process your documents. I don't need to come to work. So we have struggled in the last years to get agents to move to online. And with this change, I think the positive that come out of it is immediately it's like 100% people are online.
Right, and we really don't have a choice about it. So
yes.
Being in the financial sector as well, you mentioned some of the rules and regulations about in the past you weren't able to send financial or sensitive information electronically.
Yes.
How are you managing that now with agents working remotely? How do you ensure that level of confidentiality is maintained?
It was difficult. I'm sure it's not a perfect process yet. So very basic, very high level, we get them to submit the documents online, and we have secure channels where they submit the documents. Then on top of it, we get a process where we get the clients to call in to verify that these are their documents and these are their signatures. So it's a little bit of extra work on the client, but I think clients welcome that. After submitting the documents, underwriters have gone through the document and say, okay, this policy is ready to be enforced, but hey, wait, we need to verify that this is the person A is the one who submitted it.
Right.
So now person A to call in, and so we have to create a new process where we call it authorization calls, and then you come in into that call with right now it's only calls, but then we have tried to figure out another method to do this authorization as well online. so that particular client comes in, gives us some verification information, and then authorizes those documents to say, hey, these are my documents.
Right, right, interesting. And just another question I was just curious about is because when we're working from home, we're giving people laptops. They typically have webcams and stuff like that. Are you actually doing any video calling with any customers? So are you actually connecting agents with customers on Skype or Zoom or other platforms, or is it still very much the voice only aspect?
For contact center, we don't connect with customers online yet. It's only voice, but the agency force is connecting with customers online. So for contact center, what we have done is we have our different portals where clients can come in and do their verification. So we direct them to that portal when they call in, and that portal is an online portal to do different levels of authentication. So if you are a high premium customer, you have a different set of authentication. If you are a low premium paying customer, the probably authentication will be a 3-step process versus a 10-step process.
Right. Interesting. And your centres, are they 24/7 or are they different hours depending on the day of the week?
Well, the contact center itself is normal working days, 5 days a week. However, we have a smaller team, not a smaller team. We have I think 1/3 of the contact center is a team that supports the guarantee letter issuance for hospitals when you buy medical policies and you need to get admitted to the hospital.
Okay.
And it is an emergency. So we issue you a guarantee letter to the hospitals. Now that is 24/7. They work 7 days a week. Now that team, most of the team, especially the ones that's working after hours from 6 right up to the next morning 8:30, those team members are already working from home.
Wow. You've had no issue with you've had no issue with anybody falling asleep on the job or anything?
Not really,
No.
because at the moment during that off hours, call volume is not very many.
Right.
But then these are calls that we are very specialized people working in that team, because you're getting calls from the hospitals.
Right.
So it's kind of a relationship communication that we've already got with the hospitals. So so far no problem on that.
Excellent, excellent. And just finally, I really appreciate you giving me lots of time today. Any other final parting comments or tips for anybody else who's going through this, where they're still maybe having some challenges, either with motivation or technology? Any sort of last minute tips that you can throw into for anybody watching this?
I guess 2 things here. I just want to highlight. Working from home, being in a financial space, the one concern, and I think we still haven't got a grip on it, is confidentiality of the information. If you have more people working from home, now we can do what we can do, as in getting them to sign agreements saying this confidential information, you're not supposed to share it.
Right.
Even while at home with your family or friends, you have to lock your laptop up or whatever. But it's an ownership, right? And drilling down on ownership and how you manage this, that's been a challenge for AIA. Now, I don't think it's as much of a challenge if you're in the mobile industry, but in the financial industry, or banking, or like insurance company, that's going to be a challenge. And we still haven't got 100% clarity on whether we're doing this right or not yet. So that's something to think about, how to manage this quite creatively. The other thing is being segregated, being secluded, working remotely with this social distancing. You can easily lose connectivity or intimacy with your team members, and that's going to be an uphill battle as this prolongs, and if that's going to be a new way of working. So yes, you can do your huddles, but what more can you do more creatively? AIA hasn't got the answer yet, but I think as time passes, you will find creative way of doing it, like have a coffee day and everybody's sitting around the I don't know, their laptops and having coffee together, things like that, just to engage team members. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a forever and engaging thing that we have to creatively figure out.
Excellent. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you on those points. All very, very valid. And Irene, I must thank you again for your time. It sounds like you've got your family there as well to take care
Yes.
of. I will say goodbye, and I hope to see you at our next event. We as you know, we put our event back from July through to October this year in Bali. So I hope we can get a chance to see you guys again this year. And thank you for your time.
Thanks, Raj. Thanks. Appreciate this time as well. Thank you.
Take care of yourself and stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.